MongoDB is an open source database. It has been used as an alternative from the traditional database, which are MySQL or SQL databases. Mongo can provide many benefits to software development team. Its flexible schema makes it easier to evolve and store data in a way that is easy for programmers to work with. Mongo is also built to scale up quickly and supports all main features of modern databases, such as transactions. So um, aside from the fact that Mongo is an open source, Mongo also provide their own cloud service, a fully managed cloud service. In that way, you don't have to manage the network and other uh, like such as failover, backup, recovery, performance, which can be time consuming to complex implement your own. Well, these are just the common, as you can see here in the left panel. These are just the common tasks involved with Mongo. If you are running on the server or managing Mongo, these are the common tasks that you're gonna expect with. One of it is access request, which involves a connection string, database, creation of database, of course, and collections and indexes, and of course the issues. And other times, it is also ideal for you to check the billing because when you're running a Mongo Atlas, every movement of the data also can have its own cost. So Mongo is a different. The way Mongo Atlas builds or generate their bill is different from other services. So this is something to do about I/O, every input and output. So you have been billed. Uh, so anyway, these are just a reference of getting information with regards to dealing with Mongo issues. So tickets, of course, are um, in your ticketing system. There are existing tickets, so you can just check in the previous ticket and the knowledge base whenever there are documented. Some of the Mongo tasks are documented, and of course, speak with the users. What are their behaviors and activity with regards to Mongo? It would also help to get a familiarity with this. And last but not the least, the search engine. With regards to data request or entry, I just have these are just the checklist. Verify the team requester and of course what cluster. But if you're running two clusters, which is the dev and prod, so you have to verify that and user access request and these are checklists. Peering is also a network access when you're running in a infrastructure like an AWS and your app is installed either your app is set up in the ECS container or regardless whichsoever in order for you to connect to the Mongo Atlas you have to set up a peering. This is also uh, which so that your VPC your network can see Mongo and peer them both end issues. This is how I isolate the issues. You have to identify the goal of that user, perhaps do a quick call demo so that you have an overview of what's going on. And of course, the process, you have to know the process, what are the tools to be using, the user's been using, and VPN, and the error. You have to, of course, the error. And comparison, you have to compare if it works here, if it doesn't work there, and that. So you just give you an insight, and that's where you come up with a resolution and you test it. And of course, if this one isn't from prod, it needs an approval and as well as backup. So because prod is very sensitive, and again in monitoring monitoring, there is a real time, there's a metrics and logs. Real time, let me show you what the more monitoring looks like. Here, this is how it looks like in the um, there are three features, at least three main features that I usually get into with regards to the monitoring of Mongo. And one of it is metrics. This is metrics. This is where you can see, you can generate a report with any time or date that you want, past month or a day or a week. So these are just the metrics of, you can see here latency, query, disks. So by the way, let me show you what, uh, like let's generate like last month. So so these are these are the performance of the server last month. By the way, there are three clusters, and the one that has P is primary. So as of now, it is a primary. But anyway, I'm generating a report that that contains with previous days, or this is a 1 month. So there's first thing you need to know here is if you can see any red bar indicates server restart. So let me see in here. So there's a description here. A red vertical bar indicates the server restart. That means um, that could that could only mean that at this particular time the server has didn't get enough load, or has very spiked a load and this time. So that means, yeah, as you can see here, probably the disk or the memory or the CPU at that time is fully loaded, has reached its maximum capacity already. That means whichever the primary at that time must have need to perform restart in order to clean up, because it's spiked already. So this is the red, basically the red bar indicates. So since December there has already 4 times already that the server has restarted, at least to this cluster and then to this cluster twice already. Um, the uh, the orange bar indicates that at this time, at this particular time is where this certain cluster is the primary one, because this is cluster based. It switches whenever a certain server is not, or like for example the primary server could not perform anymore. It's having its reaches its own peak, so that means it's gonna restart, and primary is going to be the next cluster or whichever. So that's just a glimpse of how what the metrics looks like. You can see here how many connections been connected. Basically, it's nine about 90 current connections, but sometimes it reaches about 200. So you can see all here: activity, cache, um, memory. And now let's move along to the real time. Real time, the difference between real time and the metrics is that the real time is um, you cannot generate, of course it's real time. You cannot generate a report here that is older report. This is real time, so we can just check in whenever, like for example, one scenario is that one of the developer informed you that he or she will be running a huge an execution query that involves the big execution, like that would eat up the resources, because that execution, like for example, it's probably a query, and a huge query that might impact the server. So this is where you can see top collections. So so this is the real time. And the third one is logs. So logs is a very tricky. Um, in dealing with logs, you have to download it manually and check um, which contains. So let me show you what usually are the things that consider here in the logs. Just an example of what logs looks like. Um, Let me see here. So this is just an example of a log. So um, logs. Anyway, logs. I'll just uh, separate video for the logs. But So let's go back to the billing. Uh, Set that. So uh, let me show you the what Mongo Atlas looks like. So Mongo Atlas, this is the admin portal of Mongo Atlas, and you, to see the database, just go to the browse collections, and this is where you can see the collections database. You can create database. After you create database, you can add collection, and once you add collection, go to the index. You can also add index. So in adding index, you can just type in here the name of the index. It could be like email, and you just put it one. You can also do this in using Mongo Compass. But anyway, that's the basic um, in Mongo Atlas. This is the billing and where you can check the invoice.